for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. We are live, coming to you live, that is, on Spreaker.com or the Spreaker.com network. The number to call is, of course, area code 267. Excuse me, sorry about that. 687-0026. That number again is area code 267-687-0026. Joining me on the show today are none other than my cat from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park, Brother Rich. What's happening, man?
I'm always honored and humbled to be on with you and all of our wonderful listeners and other hosts.
That's good. And on the other side, we got my man from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. What you say, man?
Hey, it's always a pleasure. Looking forward to some very interesting and diverse topics that we got for today's show.
Good deal. All right, well, let's get things started. Up first, of course, is the NBA. Now, with the playoffs, the NBA playoffs, that is, just around the corner, you know me. I always like to try to find that most interesting stat or that most interesting nugget or tidbit, you know, when it comes to putting together these topics and discussing what we discuss. All of the conversation, of course, and Double J, you know this just as well as I do because you're in the Facebook group, the Ultimate Michigan Sports Lounge. Seems like all the conversation on social media, on the NBA TV, all the talk shows when it comes to the NBA is all about the drama, or when it comes to the playoffs, you know, the push for it, but scoring, rebounds, all those categories that lends itself to fantasy basketball, if you would. That's why I call it the TodayBA and Brandsketball. And there are people who would tell you based on those things, this is why Team X or Team Z or Team Y or their team will win. And I'm saying, I get it. They got a such and such 74 and one record, or they 63-9, or whatever the case. I get it. I get all of that. But those things alone do not guarantee why your team will or will not win. Brother Richard, you've heard me say this many a times about playoff translatables. Those things, because we've seen it throughout our lifetime in the NBA, teams who were ranked, and again, not even just the NBA, in college basketball. Kentucky, when they went 30-0, or we've seen teams in the NBA, you know, the Seattle Supersonics keep coming to mind when the Denver Nuggets knocked them off as an 8th seed. People get so locked into where you rank that and where this
Portland Trailblazers back in the day.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's why they're gonna win. No. I'm saying to you, when it comes to the NBA playoffs, there are two things that are more critical and factor in far more and outweigh and weigh far more in the outcomes of games than anything else that we've just mentioned. Short series, 7 games, and turnovers. Now, there are more criteria or more, playoff translatables that I think are critical, but turnovers are crucial. I use TeamRankings.com as one of my sources for stats on the rare occasions. I use a stat because it, to me, is one of those sites where the stats are truly indicative of what you see. You get what I'm trying to say? And that's what we look for when we look for a stat. We don't just say, oh, he averaged, you know. We look for true stats. And I looked up NBA team turnovers per game because there were a few NBA games on last night. I can't remember both teams, but the Thunder played and the Spurs played, and there was a couple of games going on. And the Bucks played, and, you know, we already know the story about where they beat the Lakers, you know, and all of that that's going on over there. But I'm sitting here watching these teams, and I'm looking at their records. And the Bucks in particular, they look like a strong, anybody look at them off the rip would think, oh, yeah, they're a favorite to win the East. Okay, I get it. But you know me, man, that style of play, that's another playoff translatable I like to mention. The style of play is terrible, man. It's incongruent to winning a title. actually is more congruent to looking like the Seattle Supersonics. And that Seattle Supersonics team was an old school team, legit team. They just, for whatever reason, teams go in and they go against other teams and they get to overlooking teams. I looked up the turnovers, team turnovers, and where they rank, these teams. The team with the fewest, of course, who ranks number one, and this might be a surprise to you all, to some, to you all, but maybe not. The San Antonio Spurs. They average 12.4 a game. And you know, just like I know, and I'm really saying this based on the Warriors and what they did a few years ago against the Cavaliers when they were up 3-1. Nobody mentioned it, but I went back and watched that finals. The one commonality, one common denominator in how the Cavs came back, and I'm not knocking Kyrie and LeBron's performance because you know gumbo is more than just shrimp, right? But the thing that stood out to me, the Warriors turned the ball over way too much to have that focus like that 72-10 Bulls team did to win it all. Do you get what I'm trying to tell you? When I saw that 72-10 Bulls team throughout the regular season, it was 20 games in. I said, they're going to win the title. See, when we're talking about dominant, we're not talking about just putting up 50 points a game. We're talking about how I do it to you. I don't just beat you up. I beat you up bad. You get what I'm trying to tell you? And that's what they did to teams that year, man. I was like, man, God forbid, you know, anybody get hurt. But, you know, they was going to win it that year. Let me tell you what some of your current playoff teams are this year, where they rank right now this year in team turnovers. Oklahoma City is at 17. Now, again, San Antonio's at the top with the least. So as we go down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 19, 28, you get what I'm trying to tell you? If you're 28, you turn the ball over way too much to be talking about what you're going to do in the playoffs is my point. The Lakers, who everybody wants to make the playoff, are 28th. But you got Houston at 10, Toronto at 9. Guess who? I'm gonna name you a few teams that are higher than some playoff teams. Teams that don't turn the ball over as much. The Cleveland Cavaliers, 7th. The New York Knicks, 6th. The Orlando Magic, 5th. In the top 10, you do have, like I said, Houston at 10, Toronto at 9. You got Boston at 3. But to me, and where are the Warriors at here? That's what I'm really looking for. Y'all got to excuse my eyes. They're terrible. Matter of fact, the Warriors, give me a second here. Let me scroll down.
About 16.
Say that again?
I believe somewhere around 16.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't see them on here. What's going on here? Unless they got them as... I don't know. The Nuggets are 8th.
Oh, they're 13.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Golden State. I'm looking for Warriors, and it's got Golden State. Duh. But the Warriors are 13th. So the point is, and then I'll let you gentlemen weigh in on this. When it comes to playoffs or round robin or tournament, I don't care what you did in the regular season, unless you were playing portions of your regular season throughout the regular season like it was a 7-game season. Does that make sense?
Fact.
Okay. So, Brother Rich, we'll start with you. How critical is taking care of the ball when it comes to advancing in the playoffs, NBA playoffs, of course?
Well, I think obviously it's very critical. It's absolutely a must. The Warriors over the last several years have, throughout the season and in the playoffs, been very careless with the basketball. That's as a result more attributable to their style of play than anything else, I would think. But there is also that component of the way these young men handle the ball these days and play the game, that there is a problem with that. Absolutely. Absolutely, there's an issue. So understanding that element of it and the game itself is absolutely critical going into the playoffs. And the idea and the hope is that in the second half of the season, this last part of the season, that teams begin to tighten that up. So, yes, that is absolutely something we need to look at and at every turn.
And what about you, Double J?
I'm going to double down, and I'm going to use the Warriors as an example. You know, when Steve Kerr first took the job, one of the things that he mentioned was that, believe it or not, they were okay defensively when everyone just thought that that was the problem. But instead, he said they needed to take better care of the basketball. When he looked at the turnovers per game and just how long the time of possession, those two statistics alone could have significantly impacted their overall record, and we've seen how that's played out since. But when you talk about, I think it's magnified even more in the college game, because the teams that, if you're not going to be the most talented team out there, at the very least, you have to take care of the basketball. And that's how teams, the time of possession, there's a reason that each team has a data analyst now and is following trends, everything from how frequent they shoot with a left or a right hand, and then, of course, on a more micro level, or macro rather, you would go with turnovers.
Yeah, but you know what? And again, I don't discount the analytics completely because numbers do matter. And I'm not saying you, of course, but too often people try to use quantitative to as a means to equate, or that equates to organic. That's the one thing about sports that you can't account for. And those moments, despite it being a new game or today game or whatever the case may be, there's still organic moments involved in sports that weigh heavily in outcomes. You get what I'm trying to say?
Sure. You can use heart and determination. Those are you can't quantify those. However, generally speaking, yes, the analytics across all major sports will tell a significant tale, but you got to have the right people to be able to analyze those. But, I mean, there's a reason that they have these players not just mic'd up these days, but virtually wearing those 2K type of outfits to be able to know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I've said that quite often. Sports nowadays, especially the NBA, it's about fantasy. It's fantasy basketball and it's FanDuel and all them other sites or whatever the case may be. That's why I think that this gambling issue, or this gambling thing isn't, they done made it a thing now, because it's big money on this stuff, man. And the more money, more problems, is what I say. You're taking away from the nature of the game.
Look at exactly why they were into a scandal using that. Because these kids were able to just simply be the best at analyzing data and following specific trends and became millionaires off of it. So you can't discount the real-life implications or impact that those statistics speak to when you can see people that are making tons of money by being able to understand a team better than you and I.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't know. I say numbers are universal, but they're also arbitrary, And I just find it interesting that people try to base an exact on something that could be either or. I just find that interesting. And again, what I mean by that is, it's my pie theory. The one piece of pie does not make a whole pie. You have to have all elements of it in order for it to be a whole pie. Now, how much weight do you give towards the one slice versus the other? I don't know. I don't know. I just know for me, the eye test it's a fail safe. It's a fail safe. Because I've heard, matter of fact, I was watching NBA TV with Rex Chapman and Brendan Haywood. They pretty decent as co-hosts or whatever the case may be. But they were talking about, they of course on NBA TV it was like NBA post game or whatever, and they were going over the highlights of a game that had been played last night or whatnot. I was really kind of tired. I had a long day yesterday. But I recall Brendan Haywood specifically saying, you can see the score don't tell the storyline. And to me, at times, that's the category that stats falls into. Give me the eye test. Because telling my son, I said, look, man, when you're doing this, when you're watching this, if you have to, I don't mind. Take a piece of tape, as much tape as you need, and put it over the score. Put it over. You don't want to see the score. Matter of fact, I used to suggest to people, and Brother Richard, I've said this to you on many occasions. I said, when you're watching the Today NBA game, put the mute button on. I don't want to hear the announcer. I don't want to hear none of that. I want to go off what do my eyes tell me. My eyes tell me, because I know, and this nothing says this more than if in the last year, Sports Center will have scrolling across the bottom of the screen prior to a game being played, whether it's NFL, NHL, whatever, the BPI. That's this analytical tool that everybody's using. Okay, the BPI index says that this team has a 74% chance of winning. I know people have said, I'm putting money on that. I'm putting money down on that. And more times than I care to recall, them same people talking about, man, I can't believe it. Because it's you got to go off what you see. Yes, the analytics to me set the scenarios, but the completion of or the outcomes of them scenarios to me are determined more so on the eye test. But let me go to this too right quick. I don't think the Lakers make the playoffs. Well, no, I'm not. I'll take that back. I still think somehow, some way they get in. But let me ask you all, do you think they make the playoffs, Double J?
At this point, no. And honestly, I think the single person responsible for this, despite it being a team game, is LeBron
Hold on. Who is it? Who's
LeBron
the person?
James.
Oh, yeah. Got you. Let's do it one more time. Let's do it. Yeah. Hey, school is in session. Yay. Brother Rich, who do you say? Who would you blame for the Lakers' misfortunes?
Well, I think that this is without a doubt. I think this is without a doubt that they will not make the playoffs. And I think without a doubt, to a man, the honest people know that this is all LeBron's fault. All of it is his fault. He destroyed, which is what I sent a text to our good brother and friend there in Cleveland with you, Crump, at the beginning of the year. And I said that LeBron James came to L.A. to ruin the young players and ruin the young talent. And that's exactly what he's done. That's what he comes and does. He ruins young talent.
Yeah, it's a shame, man, to see such a storied franchise. I think Magic's eyes got bigger than his stomach. You get what I'm saying? Or as my uncle used to tell me.
I don't even like to put that on Magic. I put that squarely on LeBron's shoulder. I think
Really?
that LeBron panicked. He absolutely. Let's look at the facts and the evidence. The facts and evidence say that LeBron, and his agent, LeBron.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm talking about when Magic went to go get LeBron. When he sought after LeBron to bring LeBron to the Lakers.
I understand, but I don't think that in and of itself was a bad move.
Okay, all right,
yeah,
go ahead.
But from a marketing standpoint, I don't think that was a bad move. I think the bad move was for LeBron to panic and to throw all the chips in on the table and to just know for surety that the league was going to allow him to make this move and then overstep his bounds and offend all the ownership in the league and offend management and offend all these people and make that move like that. I think that's where we saw that. And then to do it, he did it. And remember, the word is out on LeBron in the league. Kyrie put it out. Other people have put it out. And now the young Laker players see that he's exactly like has been spoken of. He's not a leader. He's not a leader of men. He's a person that will work against you behind your back and will smile in your face, but all the time he's trying to trade you. And any chance he gets, he's going to say that my young players, these young people don't know how to win, like he's won 1,000 rings. How do you know how to win? You've been to the finals 8 times and you've lost 5 of them. And people forget he's a winner and he's only won 3 times, and we can point to 2 circumstances where he really had nothing to do with that. No, so I totally agree with Double J that this is squarely on his shoulders. And if he were to man up and take it, maybe we could have some more. We could look at him in a better light. But this is absolutely on LeBron James. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you all on that. We could look at him in a better light from a basketball standpoint. You're right. If he was go ahead and man up, I'll tell you this too as well when it comes to this here NBA playoffs. I know the Warriors are book it, as people like to say here, But I'm going on record right now to tell you, anybody that beats the Warriors, if the Warriors don't make it this year, the team that beat them won't come from the East. It'll be in the West. I know the rosters, and I'm a Kawhi Leonard. You know I'm a Kawhi Leonard. That's my dude. That's my guy. San Diego State. That's my dude. And I get what the Raptors did with Gasol and, adding him. Hey, on paper, the Bucks, the Sixers, the Raptors, who else is it? Who else? Oh, and the Celtics are 4 teams who should be able to punch the Warriors in the gut. But once again, that eye test, that style of play, you coming down the stretch now. And I done watched the Bucks, the Raptors, the Sixers. To be honest with you, before he went out, and I wished I would have recorded this. I told my son, I said, man, do you know who my dark horse in the East is? The Pacers.
Who's that?
The Pacers. That's who it was before Oladipo went out.
I can agree with that.
Man, the Pacers were my dark horse. The folks sleep on them because, of course, we into this popular thing. Whatever's popular is hot right now. So forget everything else. That's your problem. You forgetting this over here. Say that. What you say, Double J?
No way. I mean, don't get me wrong. Speaking of popular and right now, you bought in when they were popular and right now. They had a few good weeks.
Who?
Prior to the Oladipo injury.
The Pacers?
Absolutely.
I said the Pacers were. The Pacers were my dark horse. I'm saying the Pacers don't get as much conversations, even with Oladipo. They wasn't getting the kind of conversation that the Raptors was getting with Kawhi Leonard, or the Celtics was getting with Kyrie Irving, or the Sixers were getting with Embiid and McConnell and J.J. Redick, or the Bucks was getting with Giannis Antetokounmpo. They wasn't getting that kind of conversation. They were getting it, but it wasn't to the tune of them other. When it came to, and I'm not saying in all circles, but for the most part, the circles I was in or the circles I was watching, when it came to who's who in the East, even on NBA Jump and with the one with Michelle Beadle and Paul Pierce and sometimes Chauncey Billups, I forget whatever that name of that show is, because it's okay because it come on before a game or whatnot. That conversation was, that's all I kept hearing over and over and over again was them 4 teams. Then the Pacers would get honorable mention, so to speak. I said they were my dark horse team. If anybody could have beat any of the other 4 with Oladipo, it would have been the Pacers. Yes, sir, indeed. But, of course, Oladipo's out, so it's not the Pacers. So, but of the 4, again, based on the rosters, they should be able to knock the Warriors in the and the Warriors do have a chink, even with Boogie Cousins. You put them in pick and roll, put Boogie in pick and roll, you might have yourself a recipe for something real tasty. But of the 4 East teams, now they'll beat up on each other. Now, if you ask me who I think will win the East, it's hard to say right now, but it'll be one of those 4, I believe. Now that Oladipo's out. But beating the Warriors, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. The thing with the Bucks, right quick, the thing with the Bucks, despite all the talent that they have, and they added Pau Gasol, big deal at this juncture, Giannis is allowed to freelance too much. He would be so much, without him having a consistent jump shot, he should play more off the ball. The Raptors, I know they're playing much better with him and Gasol. They're working him into the mix, and it looks good, that inside out. I'm always a fan of that because that's important in the playoffs too. But I'm sorry, the question mark for me is going to always be Kyle Lowry as long as he's on that team. Philly, they can't afford for Embiid to get hurt. Too many jump shots.
Oh, yes, they can.
No, listen, if you watch that game the other night against the Warriors, it's no way in the world they should have lost to the Warriors in that game. I'm going to tell you how they lost. They had a big lead, and then what happened? They put the ball in Jimmy Butler's hands. I like Jimmy Butler. The offense got stale. And when the offense got stale, because Mike Scott was playing in the first half, they were playing basketball. In the second half, go look at the shot attempts. Listen, let me tell you what I heard in the second half from Philly. And then at the same time, I watched 2 things happen. I watched the Warriors get the rebounds, and then I watched the lead decrease for the Sixers. Let me tell you what I heard in the second half from the Sixers. Doink. Dunk. 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 How many more dunks you want me to give you? Bad shot selections. There was no reason. If it was a tale of 2 halves, you're not going to get away with that in a 7-game series. You're not going to get away with it. Every possession is critical.
They
That's one
both
of my,
have to, and I'm going to tell you why. They have you mentioned, and of course with the Pacers thing, they're the number 3 seed, so they're not a dark horse when you're the 3. You got to be at like the 8 or 9 spot.
see that.
Uh,
Hold that thought.
However,
When I say dark horse, I'm talking about based on the conversation and surrounding the teams. I'm not necessarily. I don't buy into rankings. Rankings don't weigh as much with me. You know what I mean? You could be ranked number. How many times we see in college football a team be ranked number 3 and then lose to a team or look bad against a team that's ranked number 10 or 11? So I mean, I get it. I understand what you're saying. You're right. They were ranked 3, but no. We'll go ahead. Finish your thought. Sorry. Go ahead.
all right, so where I'm going with this is Milwaukee's the only team that actually has the length to compete with anyone on the West. In my opinion, they match up better against the West teams than they do in the East. However, my winner of the East is still going to be that same team you were just speaking negatively about and saying they live and die with Embiid, and that is Philly because of the fact that they have another, dare I call him a twin tower, will go Duncan Robinson-esque in Boban.
First of all, I don't speak on the Sixers negatively. I speak on them objectively. Secondly, Boban is Boban, and he's a big guy in the middle. But Boban gets tired out easily. Listen, I'm with you. I'm not saying that without Embiid they just no. They can still win, but they will not win a playoff series with the way that they were playing, the way they played the Warriors without Embiid. Not who they have or who they didn't have or who they might get. The way they played without Embiid, they're not going to win. They're not going to go far in the playoffs. They're not. They're not. Jimmy Butler get the ball, man. The offense, especially in the half court, becomes stale. Just do me a favor. If you watch that game, go look at the shot selections from the first half to the second half, and then go look at the game and then tell me how is it that the Sixers lost to the Warriors last night? Because for every jump shot that they missed, the Warriors did what? Made the Sixers one and done, got the rebound, and was getting, layups on the other end. You can easily kill a 15, 18, 25-point lead in NBA when you're missing long jump shots and the other team is getting layups. I'm just saying, man, it's all back to the fundamentals. I'm just saying. But I get it. The Sixers roster, that's why I said first, the roster on paper says that those 4 teams, maybe not the Celtics as much, because Al Horford, I don't know if he could, but the other 3 for sure, they supposed to be able to punch the Warriors in the gut. But the way them other 4 teams, including the Celtics, have been playing as of late, going down the stretch, that's not good for playoff basketball. That's all I'm saying. But we'll see, Double J. You and I have to put a little friendly wage. I don't bet much. We had to put a little friendly wage on it. You know what I mean? If I win, you send me a 6-pack of Mountain Valley spring water. And if you win, I send you a 6-pack of what you drink. Pepsi, Coke, what you drink?
I'll do Fiji or Voss.
All right, sounds
Oh,
good.
I'm with that. I'm with the Fiji and the Voss.
Oh, please. Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's that bougie stuff, man. That's that, you know what I'm saying? Everybody can't drink water from the spring of the Appalachian, you know what I'm saying, in the Arctic, you know what I'm saying, that has been raised over the rocks, therefore the mineral content is at it all. Hey, everybody can't afford that, man. You know what I'm saying? I got to go to Tarjay. Anyway.
Well, that's the point. That's the point. If we weren't trying to avoid, you buying it for us. You buying it for Double J. That's the point. That's what he's saying. If you gonna go out there on that, Double J is saying, look, if you're gonna go out there, go all the way out there and handle that.
Really? That's how y'all playing me today? Got you. And then, yeah, I got you. It's all good. That's all good. Let me turn somebody's mic off right now. No, but the last note before we move on to the next thing, I don't know. Did I ask you, Double J? You said the Lakers don't make the playoffs. That's right. You did because of LeBron James. Well, let me ask you this then. Who's your pick then for the Eastern Conference to rep the East in the finals, Double J?
You know, despite my head telling me Milwaukee, my heart is going with Philly.
All right, and that's fair.
I think that I'm going to give that's for Brett Brown. Again, this decision comes solely off of his ability to continue to mold this team. Again, this guy has been through the worst of times with them, and I like that because, in today's NBA or in all of pro sports, most organizations and coaching staffs do not get that ability. And with that core being together for a while, again, with these new key pieces, everything from Ish Smith to Boban to Jimmy Butler, they're all strategic. And they can, this is not just a 2K roster. This is the real deal that can defend, that can beat you down the floor both ways, and can play defense, in addition to being able to go bucket for bucket with you there is a lack thereof defense.
No, I'm in agreement with you. No, it's not that I dislike the Phillies. The Sixers. I'm thinking of the Bryce Harper deal. That's for next week's show. I don't dislike them, and I'd like to see them win it. You know what I mean? I like they have a good mesh of characters, if you would. Especially with Embiid. He's funny, outgoing, but he's an old school. He's an old soul, as I like to say. And I like J.J. Redick. I'm not a fan of Duke, but I am a fan of J.J. Redick somewhat because. He is. He wants it. When he go out there, he plays with a purpose, I should say, as well as McConnell. I like McConnell. McConnell is a underrated guard. I think I'm not saying he's a superstar or all-star, nothing like that, but that guy, he bring energy every night, man. And the defense that Mike Scott was playing on Durant in the first half, especially at the end of the first half, that sequence is what I've been screaming about, man. When it comes to defense nowadays, they don't go and greet the offensive player. They just wait for the offensive player to go a direction, then they try to follow. That's excuse my French fries. That's piss poor. That's piss poor. And then the offensive player gets all the credit like he just did something so fantastic, the likes of which we've never seen before. Man, stop it. Stop it. If you can do all of what you just did to get that basket while people climbing all over you and tripping you and cats like Xavier McDaniel choking you, then you get more credit to me than that. Excuse me for that. Brother Rich, who you got repping the East in the finals?
The Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics.
Stop it.
The Boston Celtics.
Stop it. You know what? And
the Boston Celtics.
Got you. And on that note, we're gonna move on, moving on and right along, I should say. Have you all? Are you all familiar with the story of the former Baylor player who was accused of rape, actually sexual misconduct or something of that nature? Shawn Oakman. Either of you all familiar with him?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
I sure am.
Yeah. Baylor's kind of died down a little bit, but 15 minutes ago, Baylor was the talk of the town. For whatever reason, they just were scandalized all up and down the alphabet, from A to Z. But this case in particular, I found very interesting because apparently the young man is not guilty. But whatever career he was going to have or might have, and he still might be able to have at the time, was damaged, done, finito. Kaput, Kimosabi. Let me read you this. And it's been 3 years. After 3 years of being indicted on second-degree sexual assault charges. Can you all hear me pretty good?
Yep.
Okay, good deal. Former Baylor defensive end Shawn Oakman was acquitted by jurors in Waco's 19th State District Court yesterday. And this is yesterday being, if I'm not mistaken, this was from the, no, that's for the 22nd. Okay, yesterday. Oakman was accused, of course, of raping a Baylor graduate student on April 3rd, 2016 at his apartment. An encounter he claimed was consensual. His case was one of the most prominent in the larger Baylor sexual assault scandal, in which one lawsuit said Baylor football players committed 52 rapes in 4 years, many of which the administration was accused of covering up. And, of course, Baylor, we all know, Baylor settled that lawsuit. Before his indictment in 2016, Oakman was, of course, considered a probable first-round pick in the NFL draft. And he told reporters that he wants to join the league as soon as possible. He spoke about his relief at getting to pursue an NFL career, so he will get to pursue an NFL career. That's good. As well as saying the vindication he feels his case should give to the disgraced Baylor football apparatus, or I'm not sure why they use apparatus there. But at the end of the day, this guy went through the whole legal process, and he even rejected a generous plea deal in December. Now, that's tough to do, because in this country, in any other country, I suppose, but definitely here in America, rape, it's and being accused of it, nowadays, especially if you, in the public eye, so to speak, you're guilty to proven innocent. You know what I mean? And then again, that being rape, you're pretty much done. And forget a career. You're talking about jail time and all that kind of stuff. So for them to come to you with a plea deal and you say no, man, talk about betting on yourself. But then if I'm with him on that though. I'm not going to say I did something I didn't do, right? I'm not going to say I did something I didn't do. So, Brother Rich, I'll ask you, not only should this young man get a shot, at pursuing his career, but what say you about false accusations and how detrimental they can be to your pursuance or those things you pursue?
Well, Jay, I had somebody that teaches me that taught me that when you accuse a person, the degree to which that individual, had he been or she been found guilty of whatever accusation, whatever charge you lay at their feet, when and if that person is vindicated, the law of the universe and the law we live under should say that you then are accountable for whatever you were putting on that man's plate or that woman's plate. Now, in the modern society, in 2019, to charge a young man with rape and to wear that, as they call it in the justice system, to wear that, to put that jacket on somebody, that they are a sexual predator. Number one of which, people who are charged with sexual predation, if and when they're convicted, they face the most difficult time even in their incarceration period. It's very difficult to go to prison for something like that. So here's that. We're not even talking about the loss of reputation, the loss of the ability to earn, and the fact that if you're convicted of such a charge, you carry for the rest of your life having to register as a sexual offender. So when somebody can willy-nilly just throw out to these young men on campuses, "Oh, you raped me," in an attempt to discredit their character and destroy their reputations and their careers, I for one believe it's the ultimate penalty. And I was just telling a dear friend of mine, I'm in Atlanta this weekend with a dear friend of mine who also deals with athletes, and I was just saying to him yesterday in a meeting that this is why I believe these young men need strong representatives, strong spokespersons who can ferret out the facts and they don't speak. See, because your lawyer's only going to do what the money you gave him allows them to do. And many of them are lazy anyway. They just want that fee and want the big case. And whether they win or lose for the most part is really an irrelevant matter. But this young man has had to battle 3 years of his life.
Hold that thought. I'm just totally in agreement with you. It's not about justice. It's about wins and losses when it comes to that courtroom.
Fact.
Continue.
So, again, I would be the thought and mind that whoever charged that young man should be charged with the ultimate penalty. So if he was going to get 15 years in the penitentiary for that, that individual should get 15 years in the penitentiary. If he was going to get a $100,000 fine, they should get a $100,000 fine. Whatever he was going to get, they should get that.
It's called reciprocity?
Absolutely.
Double J, go ahead. What you say?
Oh, I'm going to double down and agree with Brother Rich here. I mean,
that's 2 double downs from Double J? Woo, all in one day? Man, you know what? I got to hold on.
I know.
Hold on. I got. I'm sorry. That was a clapping moment.
So
Continue.
Here's the thing here. It's not to discredit those that the real victims of these types of crimes. But again, when it comes to these high-profile individuals, right or wrong, in the cases of when they are wrong, there needs to be this eye for an eye type of law. With, some kind of they need to do something in terms of a policy here, because those 3 years, Shawn Oakman cannot get back. If you remember, I would say about 4, maybe 5 years ago, they had that gentleman everywhere because he looked superhuman.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because you're talking about an individual that, again, is healthy. He would have gone in the top 5. He would have been the first defensive player off of any board in the last 5 years. And, of course, 2 of which he wouldn't have been eligible for simply because of, his status in the NCAA. But
go ahead.
When this happens, this individual who did it needs to be held accountable, because then he cannot get that time back. He cannot get the same type of check. He now has an uphill battle just to get an opportunity in the league. This is not something that he gets to walk right out of that cell and walk right into the NFL Combine, and he's going to still take with him the same skill level that he had from the time that the incident first had taken place. He's got to fight through all of that.
Indeed.
And it's not fair ultimately to the player.
Indeed. No, good stuff, fellas. Good stuff. We are coming to you live again from the Spreaker.com network. If you're out there listening and you want to give us a shout, that number to call is area code 216-687-0026. Again, 267-687-0026. All right, moving on. Let us discuss everybody's favorite topic, except for maybe Double J up there in Michigan, the Cleveland Browns. And in particular,
you should have the clap in. Whenever you say that name, you should have the clap in going, and because you honor, respect the soon-to-be Super Bowl champion. But go ahead, yes, sir.
You know what, Brother Rich? For that, I'm gonna need you to go stand in the corner and put your nose in it. Okay. Yes, the Cleveland Browns, everybody's favorite subject. Baker Mayfield, Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett. For me, it's GM John Dorsey. Brother Rich, how many times have you and I had this conversation? Browns-versation is what I'm going to call it. When we said the Browns need a guy who knows. It's not because every year the talk is always what? The Browns got this number 1 draft pick or not number 4. They're always picking high in the draft and always about how much cap space they got. And I said, that's all you all ever talk about. That's all for most fans anyway. I said, but what good does it do to have those 2 things if the guy who's in charge of them don't know the value of a dollar? Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Fact. Sure? Am I right? Okay. John Dorsey.
I think you're facts.
Is a guy who knows how to grocery shop. He's the type of guy, he reminds me of my mom and your mom, Double J, I'm sure. Not literally, but figuratively. My mother go in the grocery store with $20, man, and come out with 5 carts. How you do that? We was eating for the whole week. Okay, I embellish a little, but you all get the idea. This guy knows his track record. His track record is proven. So much so that whatever move he make, I'm gonna sit back and fold my fingers. Let's see how this work out. Let's see what this one do. The dude know what he doing, man. Well, he has some interesting comments John Dorsey did here lately. And of course, not all in the media, but a lot of media members like to bait the interviewee into a response based off a question that a calculated question. I call them DAQs, D-A-Q, dumb asked questions sometimes. So, of course, they tried to ask him the question. We're not going to go into that. But his response, yes, there's been progress, major progress. This is Dorsey. But as he reiterated at every opportunity this past Thursday, there's just so much more to accomplish. Hello. This ain't Ray Farmer we're talking about here. No offense. Dorsey. Everybody feels good, but what have we done? Now that deserves. What have we done? Every year for how many years, ever since I've been a Browns fan, I've grown up watching the Browns all year, and I get it, the excitement of, I don't know why when the Browns went on 16, but fans are here saying, man, we're going to go 9-7, we're going to go 10-6, and we're going to go to we won 7 games. I get it, we starving for wins, we ain't had a win, it's been 18, 19 years, 20 years, and I get all of that, but still, you have to maintain some perspective. You cannot allow your fandom to overshadow perspective. And Dorsey is saying that here. What have we done? Everybody feel good, but we ain't done nothing. That's the attitude I'm talking about. I don't care if you're 30-0. I don't care if you're 25-5. I don't care what your record is, how many points you scored. I don't care what the quarter is or the score in the game is. I don't care how many receiving yards you got and catches and touchdowns. I'm about to get this one right here. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? This is the one. We ain't done nothing yet until it's over. We won 7 games. That's still not a winning record in my eyes, Dorsey said. Hello. Hello. I like how the man talking. Settle down, Kemosabis. That's what the man is saying. We want to be competitive in the AFC North year in and year out. Hello? I mean, is this guy related to me or something? Because I'm sure you remember, Brother Rich, when you asked me when I was starting the shop report, and I said my reason for was this, that, and this, but primarily I don't want to be here today and gone tomorrow. I want to be here today and be here tomorrow. Ain't that what I said? Okay, anyway. We want to be competitive in the AFC North year in and year out. None of this instant gratification, millennial jubilation crap. Now, what we have to do is we've almost done our plan. Somebody up there. Somebody in the Browns. Start at the top. Ain't that what they say? Somebody up there in the organization is writing stuff down. They ain't do that before. They wrote it on the whiteboard, and somebody came behind them and erased it. Man, what'd you do to my Pythagorean theorem? Hey, the dog ate my homework. Let's see if we can stay true and stay consistent with that plan and go into the start of the league year. Stop right there. Let me repeat that. Let's see if we can stay true and stay consistent with that plan. You ain't got to say no more than me. Do you understand what the man is saying here? Hold the line, fellas. We got a call in the queue here. Let's see who's calling. Caller, what's your name?
John out of Michigan.
John, what's going on, man? We're glad to see you back, man. Got Double J and Brother Rich on the line. What's going on, man? How's everybody on your side of town?
Everybody's great. It's snowing again. So I'm just calling in, to I'm a Cowboys fan, so I'm going to be realistic, and everybody fans, the Cleveland Browns are expansion team of the Ravens. You guys won your Super Bowl. That was the Ravens. You guys will always be considered non-true Browns. And, Yep, you guys are getting better, but I'll tell you one thing. It'll always, everybody will feel, if you're older, maybe the young kids will catch on that you're truly the Browns team. But without the owner, the true owner of what made Dynasty with Bernie Kosar and all the greats that came out of there and all the battles with the Broncos, it will always feel in our age group that you guys are truly not the Cleveland Browns, that the Ravens are still the Cleveland Browns in our eyes.
Well,
and it'll take a decade for you guys to get that dog pound image back. You guys, it still isn't there. You guys don't have nobody to bring that kind of image. There's no dog pound. It's like a small bone, and that, like I said, I mean, in my eyes, you guys don't have identity.
Interesting.
You're an expansion team. You're an expansion team. You're just like Jacksonville, and you guys are just, or even the Rams are back.
Okay.
Where they need to be to get their identity back. St. Louis Rams was never something that they should have ever even thought of. The Oakland Raiders are going to lose their image again, just when they were getting it back. So, like I said, when until our generation goes away, people will be excited about the Browns one day. But right now, the NFL isn't.
Well, let me ask you this question, John. You say the Browns don't have their identity back yet. And I'm 50-50 with you on that. You're right. But here's the deal, though. Teams who have an identity, you got to start from somewhere. Wouldn't you agree? So we're in the process.
Like I said, yeah. Name a player. Name a player in the last 5 years that had the dog pound image like the Ravens. The Ravens are still that dog pound with that defense that doesn't stop, that stops the run. That, the offense that'll run that ball down your throat. They're passing, more often, but
yeah, I don't listen. I don't agree.
Me,
I don't agree with you. Hold on. I don't disagree with you.
Yep.
You're right. The Ravens are the Ravens. But let me explain. Let me say this to you. And here's what my good friend and my sports colleague as well, former Brown and Raven, Herman Arvey, once said to me off air. He said, when the Browns left Cleveland the first time, and I'm saying the first time, I didn't want to throw, Brother Rich, I always thought you was going to throw a haymaker at me. Like they getting ready to do it again. Who knows? All right, in this day and age, only picking up and moving with the drop of a hat. But what Herm said to me was, he said, when the Browns left here, he said, when they came back, they should have renamed them something else entirely. They should have went on with a whole new everything. Because you're right, there are people out there who see them as the quote-unquote Baltimore Browns. But at the end of the day, once you get old enough, man, or once you live a few years, at some point I'm not going to be guilty of my father's sins, okay? I, for one, am old enough to remember the Bernie Kosar and the Biner and the Langhorne. As a matter of fact, I remember Dave Logan and Brian Sipe and Cleo Miller and Mike Pruitt and all of them guys. So I get it. But at this point, the Ravens are the Ravens and the Browns are becoming the Browns. And as far as that, you're right, in the last 5 years, yeah, we haven't had – you're right. We got an 0-16 on our resume. I get you. But guess what? Baker Mayfield, John Dorsey, and this coup de grace, so to speak, that they put together, man, they getting ready to erase all that negative, put it behind me. You understand what I mean? I'm going to put it in Pandora's box. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to throw away the key because guess what? You have to have some knowledge of the past in order to make progress into the future. But you cannot let that knowledge you have of the past prevent you from making progress into the future. So we're going to keep that back there, and the Browns are going to keep it moving forward. Go ahead and say your thought before we got to let you go here. Go ahead. Finish.
Okay. Well, when you guys get that beast of a running back, where
we got three,
he's kicking up dirt like them. Well, then all three of them aren't any good. None of them. All three of them are terrible.
What?
Put them against the Cowboys defense. Put them against the Steelers defense. So, I mean, come on now.
Now wait a minute.
You guys, let's be honest. I mean, Pittsburgh will always beat you guys up.
Oh, John.
Ravens will always beat you guys up. Let's be honest.
John, you're throwing shots. You're throwing shots, man. You're throwing shots. That's not fair.
You need that beast. That beast that's just running the ball down their throat. That in the offensive line, you don't need a quarterback. You need a Bernie Kosar that's just a leader. At a Romo. I mean, I don't even Romo for a Cowboys fan. That's just gonna be the quarterback that'll take a hit, and as long as he gets 20 yards out of it.
No. I like Tony Romo.
That kind of running back.
I like Tony Romo in the booth. Guy's an exceptional mind, more so than I ever thought he would, and far better as a mind in the booth, or far better in the booth than he was as a player. No offense. But don't use Romo as an example. Use Roger Staubach or Troy Aikman.
No.
Don't use Tony Romo, please.
Can't you know what? You can only put Tony Romo and Danny White together. Those two were true. They were never going to be a Roger Staubach. They'll never be a Troy Aikman. So you can't put those in that league. And Bakerfield got the long wait. I mean, you got one season. Okay, he got lucky, just like our quarterback,
Dak Prescott. Excuse me.
Yeah, he just had one great season, and Romo was telling him what to do. So he was probably listening to his headset, and Romo was saying to the right, throw the ball. He was playing video games with them. So my point is that he's not there yet. Your quarterback is not there yet. Next season, he'll be getting picked off more than he'll be throwing touchdowns. I will bet that.
All right.
Come
Well,
to Detroit, I'll buy you the best steak dinner.
All
Next
right.
year, he throws more interceptions than he throws touchdowns. Remember
right.
that, because
All
they're
right.
gonna. The NFL knows him now. Alrighty. Hey, have a great. I love your show and listen to it, and you guys keep it going. So, alrighty.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. That was my man,
Okay.
John. That was my man.
Yep. Alrighty. Take care.
All right, thank you. Hello?
Hey.
Yeah. Double J, you still there?
I am.
Yeah. What about you, Brother Rich? You still there? Where's Brother Rich at? Oh, he dropped out on us. Let's see if we can get him back here. Oh my gosh. Brother Rich, if you're still out there listening to us, man, give us a call back. You still there? Oh, I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
just me, it looks like.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. That was wild. That was wild. Yeah, well, that's John from. Apparently, he's a Cowboys fan, as you all know, and he was right about the Cowboys defense, though. I will say that. I will give him credit on the Cowboys defense. They were a stalwart, no question, but they got handed.
Call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging
Oh
system.
wow! Well, we don't
2,
want that.
1,
do we?
3,
No, we don't
5.
want that, do we? No, we don't want that. Yeah, but the Cowboys defense kind of got handed in the playoffs or whatever. I mean, I get what he's saying, but what do you think, Double J? You think it was more so the defense or it was the offense?
Well, that's the thing. The interesting part about this is when you look at not just them at all key levels. You start at Jerry Jones, and you ask yourself, when is he going to swallow his pride and let someone else officially, whether that be his son or anyone else, when he starts to let go of the true control of the franchise. Now, don't get me wrong, they've done a great job drafting over the last 5 years or so. And that's played a big part in all of this. However, again, now you move further down that list, and you got their defensive coordinator, former Lions coach, and did not have a lot of success there at that. You start to ask yourself, is he not doing enough with the caliber of defense that he actually has? Because if you go from Jordan Lewis to Taco Charlton and all these different players, DeMarcus Lawrence, the list goes on, and you say to yourself,
sure, for sure.
You could pick a defense other than maybe Jacksonville. That's the caliber of players that you want, literally at every single position. And so, again, and then moving a step further, and you got Dak Prescott. And there's one consistency with all of these guys, and it's simply that not only are they the leaders of the team in differing roles, but they can't seem to really, they kind of crumble under the pressure. They don't know how to win.
And they've had some key injuries, and I'm not as dismissive about injuries when it comes to NFL football in general, but NFL especially, as most people are. But they've had some key injuries because Sean Lee, Vander Esch, the guy from Boise State, he played very well in Sean Lee's absence. But, Lee's been in and out of the lineup or whatever. Do you think they need to add somebody, another wide receiver to go on the other side of, Cooper? The Cowboys do?
Well, you got Cole Beasley and then you have Amari Cooper. It would have been a good idea if at the time, and if the price was right, and of course if the fences had been mended or the bridges being rebuilt, to possibly bring back a Dez Bryant. But yeah, again, we saw what the addition of Amari Cooper was able to do, and that kind of reiterated that was the right move to make. But again, Sean Lee isn't getting any younger either, so I'm intrigued to see, how much he has left in the tank going into this last year. But again, the key to all of this is that their window's closing. It was without a doubt in mind that St. Louis, or apologize, dare I say the LA Rams
Yeah, right.
went all in last year. And with that, and the Cowboys, on the other hand, these contracts, these players know their value. Their agents, their friends, their family are all reiterating to them, there's money to be made, and the grass may or may not be greener, but you know what? That money is going to get a whole lot bluer if they were to travel, beyond the DFW area.
Yeah, well, going back to the Browns, Dorsey just, again, man, he just seems to be the right guy who understands, and I would ask you, Double J, you mentioned earlier analytics, who seems to understand he has a formula for whether he's drafting, who he's looking at to draft, or acquisitions, or who he's looking at to bring in. He just seems to have a formula. I know plan formulas, 1A, so to speak, but formula to me is a little bit more in depth. And he said, Dorsey did, you want to be able to acquire as many good players as you can. First, you have to identify from an overarching need position what on your team, what are the biggest needs to help the team, because the team is basically 53 players, not one person, but that quarterback in parentheses, parentheses is very important. Then you try to build under the guidelines of the 53. Are the pieces on the defense you need to get fixed? Are the pieces on offense you need to get fixed? These are the type of discussions you have on a day-to-day, a week-to-week basis to try to put that plan in place moving forward for 2019 when the league year starts. And we all know with free agency, set to open in just a couple of weeks, the Browns got, and I didn't know this. The Browns got over 90-something, I think it's $96 million in cap space. Second to, and I always thought the Browns were at the top in cap space. But you know who's at the top, in cap space this year? Can you take a guess, Double J?
I'm going to go out on a limb.
Yeah, don't Google. Don't Google. That's cheating.
No. It's too late for that. I'm going to go with the Raiders.
With the Raiders? Nope. Guess who it is?
Well, wide
the
open
Colts.
to me.
The Colts, $107 million. Yeah, you want me to say that to you again? 107 something odd. Yeah, but here's the killer part though. It's 100 some odd million they already got. Well, you know what? Let me ask you this side note. With all that cap space, does Le'Veon Bell, and I hadn't even planned for this here, but is Le'Veon Bell, is that like his top spot on his list of destinations or potential destinations?
It should be. However, in terms of just if it were purely based off of financials, if not Le'Veon's, it certainly will be Antonio Brown's, because you could possibly see a deal being done for, a swap of a T.Y. Hilton. And that way, again, you can slide him potentially in the slot or throw him, still back in the one spot with Juju. And that way Pittsburgh feels like they've gotten something out of it that will, not prohibit them from being competitive next season. And additionally, from, Antonio Brown's standpoint, again, he stated on more than one occasion, this is all about the checkbook. So he can be accommodated there, assuming, again, that the management is willing to spend the money. But if you go and look at the Colts roster top to bottom, it's not really a surprise. They got, T.Y. Hilton and Andrew Luck. But again, if you look at their running backs, they're incredibly weak. Outside of Hilton, average, if not below average. Ebron is probably taking up a decent amount of money because, again, from his Lions contract, so beyond that, though, and what a fit he was, beyond that, defensively, there's nothing that would stick out, and say, wow, these are great players that are around him. That's why they struggled as much as they did.
Yeah. Dorsey finished things basically by saying, every year you want to win. That's the overarching or overachieving. I don't know who wrote this article. Overachieving goal, Dorsey said. I'm not going to go out and waste a bunch of money because I have to think 3 and 4 years down the road. That as well as I love everything the guy is saying, man. And I've seen it, in terms of the application of. So when he says something, I'm pretty much like I said. I sit back and and interlace my fingers. He said I have to think, 3 or 4 years down the road. I just can't think with the immediate future. So in other words, I got to think for now, but I also got to think of what's, coming down the road. And we have a young, talented team. Let's build a foundation here. Let's build a team of substance. We're not done yet in terms of getting this thing right, and I agree with him. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, that number again is area code 267-687-0026. Did I say that right? Let me check here. Yeah, I said that right. Sorry, people. 267 is the area code, 687-0026. If you're out there on the Spreaker.com network and you're listening, that is the number to call to give us a holler. All right, let us move on. I hate that we lost Brother Rich. I don't know what happened here. There was a technical malfunction. It might have been on my part, but hey, what can I say? We move to what I like to call, you know what? Before we go on, Double J, let me ask you one last thought on the Browns. Not necessarily of the person, but position. What position do you think they should draft at 17? I'm just curious.
At 17, I would either go defensive, like a nose tackle,
Gotcha.
or potentially offensive line.
You know what? That's interesting. I hadn't given thought to the O-line. Well, go ahead. I mean, it does start in the trenches. We know that.
You talk about, protecting your investments. Sure, you're getting Kareem Hunt, assuming he plays at some point next season. I think we're all on the same page that he'll get that opportunity. But, your number one asset right now is that, you haven't had to publicly state it. But, again, this is going into year 2. That's Baker Mayfield. And, it's been proven time and time again that the quarterback position, it's valued despite it being a 53-man roster. If that person's taken care of, and that's why I think I'm a little bit tougher on the Cowboys because of in Dak Prescott, and that's why I mentioned him specifically, because if you were to plug in Andrew Luck there, I think that team will lose 2 games or less.
Really?
Really. They have arguably the best defense in terms of depth and, just across the board.
What?
They're definitely within. Oh, absolutely. And then offensive line, I would say put them up against any O-line in the league.
Who do you think is their best offensive lineman?
I'm going to say, what is his name? He's the left tackle specifically.
Smith? Tyron Smith? You're talking about the Cowboys, right?
Yep. That's right.
Okay.
Tyron Smith.
Yeah. So you're saying, hold on.
That O-line.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that O-line overall, we'll go another example. If you were to switch that O-line and put them in Green Bay makes the playoffs. Potentially, it represents the NFC in the Super Bowl.
What? Wow. All righty then.
That, because, again, if you look at what Rodgers was able to do with time, and then they had enough time to have him, if he had to roll out, he would roll right, 85% of the time, and he was able to generally average, I think, 16 yards or more.
Yeah.
So in Rodgers' best years, his line has also been, sent people to the Pro Bowl. And the defense has been just enough to get them where they needed to go.
Yeah, that is true. Because last week we talked about Freddie Kitchens' coaching staff and a couple of former Packers on there, and I forget the O-line coach, but the O-linemen have made few of the O-linemen have made the Pro Bowl and were like, I don't know what statistical categories they keep for offensive linemen, whether it's pancake blocks or pressures or sacks or, beyond that. But the Packers' offensive line was one of the best in just about any and all categories.
Absolutely, and this is why I'm so high on Dorsey and the moves that he's made, because he's not grabbing average Joes. He's getting somewhat the ones that I would, put in this genre or bracket called slept on. When you start diving into their accolades and in the positions that they had, but I'll state this too: if those guys are willing to leave Green Bay and go to Cleveland, and we're not talking about just a pure financial move, they are buying into what's being done there. And they're looking at it from a 3-year approach as well.
Yeah. Well, Greg Robinson signed a 1-year deal here last few days ago. So, that helps, of course. 2 wins, huh? 2 losses. So you really only think that they could have only 2 losses?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, again, when you look at the Cowboys overall, it came down to Dak's decision-making. There's a reason why the caller specifically was praising Romo and somewhat critical of Dak.
Yeah. But, at the same time, though, Romo didn't take him no farther than Dak did. In reality.
Romo didn't really – he didn't have an Ezekiel Elliott the entire time that he was there. He had, and he was still able to have teams establish the run with a Julius Jones or a Marion Barber. Those are flashes in the pan. Those are not a staple that would, in my opinion, at the end of it, when it's all said and done for Ezekiel Elliott, you'll remember him like Marshawn Lynch.
No, I agree. I remember him like Marshawn Lynch, and I get where you're going with that. Before he even got to Dallas, when he was at Ohio State, I cannot stand Ohio State football. Let me repeat that. I cannot stand Ohio State football. I respect them, in particular some of the players that then came out through over the years. Because, when it comes to defensive backs, my gosh, they produce defensive backs, no question. I'm a purist at heart. I can respect it, but I can't stand them. I'm a Hurricane fan, but I digress. But wow, man, yeah, that's a tar. So what? So you're expecting big things from the Cowboys next year? Then is that what you're saying?
No, again, it would be a disappointment. I think to have those expectations. It should warrant it. But again, Andrew Luck's not going to Dallas. So again, as far as if Le'Veon Bell were to sign with Indianapolis, unfortunately, their line isn't really that good to be able to say, oh, he's going to go there and be great like he was in Pittsburgh. James Conner proved what a good offensive line does, and there's a reason why those guys have been in the league for 10-plus years. They probably have one of the oldest O-lines in the league in Pittsburgh, but ultimately, when it comes down to Dallas, they have every bit of the potential. It's really their division. The NFC East is theirs to lose. You look across the board and you say, well, the Giants, what are we going to get out of them? And who's they're going to be their starting quarterback come, the kickoff? We still don't know. That's still to be determined. That's too much of a wild card. Again, reflecting, going back to the significance of that one position. Because sure, they got Odell, but if we've seen, his stats can be incredible, but if the rest of the team is average or awful, nothing, they're not going to get very far.
Yeah, well,
You could look at Washington. Same thing. Again, they have a 35-year-old running back in Adrian Peterson. They have aging people on the defensive side that they drafted 10 years ago, like a Ryan Kerrigan, that's still producing, but what are you going to bring back D'Angelo Hall?
No.
So they're not going any.
I liked Ryan Kerrigan. He played at Purdue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was real. He was first couple of years with Washington. Boy, he was a problemstrosity, a monstrosity on that defensive end side over there. Yeah. Kerrigan was real nice. I forgot that he was over. I forgot that he was still over there. But you know what? At the end of the day, man, I'm just looking forward to what the Browns are doing with Dorsey at the helm moving forward. Yes, players play. You got to but Dorsey's responsible for bringing all of the necessary ingredients to the table to make a good stew. You got it, not Not everybody knows which potato. You can't put yams in stew. I guess you could, but it wouldn't taste like the stew you would with russet or whatever. You get what I mean? And Dorsey seems to have a real good grasp on how to acquire the right or necessary ingredients for the right kind of stew.
I'm going to say why Dorsey's job is more significant than cooking or baking, because cooking is an art, baking is a science, and coaching football is both.
Yeah,
he's got the right pieces.
Yeah.
I think he's got the art and the vision to be able to put it together. And then, he knows by putting those right people in the right places, they'll break it down to a science, and the results will come.
All right.
I'm telling you now, if and when the Browns make this run, they're going to have the support well outside of the Cleveland, that northeast, northwest Ohio. That it's going to expand. You're going to start seeing Cleveland fans that you never knew were Cleveland fans. It'll look like like LeBron was back in town.
Yeah, I know that's right. Well, shucks, the Browns got Browns backers organizations in Australia, so go figure. All right, up next is no sports intended, but did you see this story about, well, it was here in Ohio. All the employees at 3 Sonic restaurants. Do you eat at Sonic?
I have, absolutely. They got
Okay.
happy hours there.
Do they? What? I didn't know
They
that.
do.
And
Yeah.
what do they serve during happy hours?
Well, you get a slush for like under $1, depending on the size, or one of their shakes, and then their, the appetizers are, that they have, or their sides, if you will, are at an incredibly low price as well. So there's a plug for Sonic right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right. A plug for Sonic. And when you said happy hour, I don't know. I misconstrued that all the way. I messed that up. Because when you said that, I'm thinking, whoa. When you said slush especially, I'm like, wow. So it's a non-alcoholic happy hour, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, well, then.
Don't drink and drive,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I'm trying to tell you. I'm like, what? Happy hour? Man, I got to go to Sonic. No, I'm just kidding. But, yeah, now, I saw this. Well, this was March the 1st, of course. And then apparently, or from what I'm reading now, that, all of the workers have come back. But at the time, all employees at 3 Sonic restaurants in Ohio left their jobs together, shutting down the businesses. And it says that there was a displeasure with ownership that spurred this massive walkout. Now, let me check this out. Employees frustrated with the management of a Sonic drive-in restaurant in Circleville, Ohio, closed up shop and left one day during the last week of February, posting a note for customers that said, "Due to terrible management, the whole store has quit." Now, you talk about unity. That's what I'm talking about. And it didn't just happen in Circleville. 2 other Ohio stores in neighboring cities, Grove City and Lancaster, they joined in with this walkout or whatever. The sign that they left at the Circleville store, they said had foul language, but I guess you could go online and read exactly what the sign said. But they said it was also signed "Sincerely Ex-Sonic Crew." And then the Lancaster's Sonic sign read, "Thank you, next," and included a heart. That I guess that's the title of a popular Ariana Grande song or whatever. The Lancaster, Ohio location. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not real hip. But the backlash, let me say this. The managers at these Ohio locations stated that the Breakfast Club was leaving due to information that had been hidden from employees. There seems to be a lot of that going on nowadays with these fast food joints or lower end type companies, I guess. But here's the backlash and why this all kind of took place. It was reportedly due to a cut in pay. Employees were moved from a minimum wage of $8.55. They're already earning $8.55 to $4 an hour plus tips. Can you do that at Sonic? I've never eaten at a Sonic, so that's what I'm asking you. I mean, is that what it is? They do tips? It's like a bar then. They might as well serve alcoholic happy hours. No? All right, maybe.
Yeah, I'm in a group with you.
Yeah, right? You know what I'm saying? If you're getting tips, and then the report said it indicates several managerial employees had been let go when the company moved from franchise ownership to corporate. which I think that's a big deal too. Franchise is more personal. It's like your old style butcher for many of you out there who are not old enough to remember the butcher versus your Giant Eagle, free plug again. That's by one of our major supermarkets where you go in and you see the prepackaged meat. There's rolls and rolls of it, and you don't know how long it's been sitting there type of stuff, as opposed to, going to the butcher. And this is, again, this franchise versus corporate thing. You go to the butcher, he get the whole leg out from the freezer. You know what I'm saying? What you want? On the loin and give me some chops there. All right, buddy. And he chop him up right there on the spot, wrap it up in that whatever kind of paper that is, whatever, keep it fresh, and he send you on your way home. But they said that at the time, of course, that the WSYX television station, this is who reported this, says that 8 local Sonic Drive-in restaurants are now part of an ownership and management restructuring that followed reports of these store closures by employees. And now they're saying, of course, the stores are now open again. I mean, my gosh, did it get any better than that? Everybody walking out. Now, I mean, I know you are, of course, the owner and proprietor of your own domain, if you would. But do you agree with these folks walking out at multiple, not just one store, but multiple stores? And what does that show? Is that, as I said a minute ago, does that show a sign of unity?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, in today's society, and coming from a bit, even prior to myself being, the owner, a sole proprietor of an organization, I knew that, and I've seen time and time again, good people leave because of the way that organizations were mismanaged or undercompensated. That's rule number one, at least for me, which is take care of your people, because your people are ultimately going to be almost solely responsible for the successes or the failure of the organization.
Let me stop you right there. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever watched The Prophet?
I have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Marcus Lemonis. Am I saying that name correctly? Man, I love his formula. People, product, and what did he call it? People, product, and prices or something or another. But he said the same thing sort of along the lines of what you're saying as far as the people, and that's unfortunate about a lot of companies. And I didn't mean to cut you off. I hope you'll hold that thought, hold your thought, and you'll finish it here in a second. But a lot of companies, just they have that mentality where it's about pushing the product. They put all and invest all in their everything into pushing the product and very little into the people that's pushing the product. Employee morale, and I get it if you got, 500 employees versus 5 employees, it can be rather maybe, a little bit challenging. But that's why you hire entities to come in and help show you how to go about doing that if you really give a darn. You know what I mean? But when you become disconnected from the people, then you get what George Orwell said in Happy, Cheerful Robots. You get folks just standing in the cheese line, so to speak. And then you wonder why you get call-offs and people are late and nobody wants to come, or, if you invest in the people, I believe, then all those other things that you're trying to, attain or accomplish, it lends itself. It's like a ripple effect. It'll trickle down. You take care of the people, and all those other things, will shake out for you pretty well as well. So go ahead, finish that thought, Jay.
Absolutely. So again, to carry on with what I was saying is simply that when oftentimes these people in the higher roles, the CFOs or the CEOs are having their accountants being their right hand, the one that's in their ear the most, that they listen to the most, and additionally trying to appease this audience of ghosts, which is their shareholders. And unfortunately, again, they're trying to increase, a bottom line, and not really taking into account the detrimental impact that it can have, and do quite the opposite, which is right now, this is the worst type of publicity that you could possibly get if you're Sonic, because it just let everyone in on that secret, which is how much you were compensating these individuals And I think we all understand, I'm not sure if you've ever been to a Sonic, but
No, I haven't.
If you see them, they're on roller skates, it's very old school drive-in style. And to know that they're making a couple dollars, you really question from their leadership how they felt that they were going to get high quality talent, not making a livable wage.
You know what? And that's an interesting point that you bring up, because I've heard management, so to speak, kind of be dismissive when it comes to people. Well, they should be grateful they got a job, so because of that, we can basically offer them anything because some people out here ain't got nothing. Well, I think that's a crass approach, of you being in charge, if you would. Yeah, I mean, we all need to work. We all need to feed families or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, not everybody is driven by money. And I'm not saying, they definitely need $8 more or more than $8, so to speak. But when I say driven by money, you can't just, I'll throw it out there, just offer them overtime, offer more money. No, we need it. I understand all too well we need it in order to drive. But that's not the only reason I'm here. And I'm here because, I enjoy maybe sometimes being around my coworkers and, and talking, shooting the crap and stuff, sometimes making the day go by fast. It's not just about the money. And you all should understand that and cultivate that kind of environment. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I mean, I'll follow that up with, if you're being compensated well, and then again, you enjoy the individuals that you're working alongside.
Right.
Loyalty to the brand, which is gone in today's society. People are, job hop at an unprecedented rate, versus you look at our parents or our grandparents that were the Kobe Bryants in their fields that were there for the same company from start to finish. Instead, we're getting a lot of LeBron James. We're getting those that stay for about 2 years or so. But again, part of the reason is because there's, they realize, just like, say, LeBron does, that, look, these owners have no loyalty to me, so why would I be foolish enough to be loyal to them?
And that's
they
fair.
leave at the first opportunity for potentially either not just a lateral movement. They'll take a lateral movement if they feel that, again, some of the reasons that these folks left, which was the management, or simply not knowing their, management not knowing the value of the folks that are really operating their brand.
Yeah, that's for sure. I just found it interesting. I was looking up stories to, discuss on the show today, and I just came across that and was like, wow, you just don't see that type of solidarity, or that type of unity, as a whole or on a whole in today's society anymore. Everybody's for themselves or whatever. And I was like, wow, because that had to take some chutzpah, if you would, for somebody to be like, what, I'm walking out. And they'd be like, yeah, I'm walking out too. But it just must have been that bad. They all were just like, what? Because some people will stay, be like, nah, man, I got bills to pay. I ain't going nowhere. And then all it takes is that one to not go, and then it kind of throw a monkey wrench in with everybody else, for them to all get on the same page and say, what, regardless or despite the money is paid or not paid, and walk out. I just thought that was a big deal. All right. Again, we are in the last few of the show here, and if you want to call, that area code is 267. Did I say that right? Aha, yes, I did. 267-687-0026. That number again is area code 267-687-0026. Last up on the menu for today, we got a little bit of golf. Now, for one, I just can't get into the sport. I'm sorry. And I've always asked the question, is it a sport? And I've always got shot down. Yeah, it's a sport. All right, so it's a never-ending debate. But any sport, if it is a sport, where a negative is a positive, just doesn't make sense to me. But nonetheless, I know people who like the sport and love to play it, and it's relaxing and so on and so forth. So, okay, hey, we'll roll with that. But did you see, apparently, Tiger Woods made par on 9 with a spectacular shot from the fairway bunker. Now, you play golf, I'm sure, right, Double J? No?
Of course.
Okay, yeah, so I figured I didn't want to make assumptions there, but I kind of figured as much. So you understand fairway, bunker, par, all of that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I'm glad I don't. But anyway, this past week or two in Mexico City, they say that, just when it looked like Tiger was going to give away a shot on his final hole, that was past Friday, he did, Tiger, what he does best, something most everyone else would never even think to try. They said after finding the right fairway bunker off the tee at the par 4 9th, whatever that means, Woods found himself blocked out by a tree between himself and the putting surface. After multiple minutes surveying his options and after a late club change, Woods aimed left, opened up his club face, ripped a slice around the tree, found the green, pulled his ball to the right, and very nearly holed out from 135 yards. You know what? That's just reading that. I feel like I should be in a movie or something. Dun, 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 dun. No drama? Okay, got you. All right, so how big a deal was that, or this shot, Double J?
Oh, let's not give him too much credit here. He had to put himself into that position to get himself out of it. And so, yes, he got a lot of oohs and ahs for being able to dig his way out of that hole. Ultimately finished, I believe just the top 10 spot, 2 under par. But overall, again, this is all a trend in the right direction. But it goes back to the father time, and is this the best that we're going to see from him now? Which is, hey, he's at least competitive, and not just hey, him making the cut is news.
Yeah, I want to ask this question to you. Do you think is Tiger back?
I want to say I hope not.
What? Oh man!
I want
elaborate.
To say,
elaborate.
Yeah, please. So what I mean by that is, again, he's finishing out to he finished out a 2 under par. If we want to say that he's back, then we're in trouble. As a golf fan base and as a Tiger Woods fan, because he's not back until he's winning. In my mind.
Got you. All right, got you. Okay.
So
okay.
if we were to throw that crown on him now and say this is Tiger, being back, and all we're getting is top 10, then unfortunately, personally I would be disappointed, and I would, to some degree, I would be hurt, because I think all of us want to see him, at the very least, top.
Yeah, break the maker.
Yeah,
I was going to say break the majors record or some sort of tournament record or tournament wins or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. With or without him, where does golf stand? Whether he's doing good or bad.
Well, again, having him in the field draws a ton. The impact that he has, if you were to see from a revenue standpoint, everything trends so far upwards for that man to be competitive or to be in the field, let alone to see the numbers when he's really competitive. If he's top 5 going into a final round, the amount of attention that's on the sport would be similar to a World Cup, to an opening day.
Gotcha.
That one person, he's the only person in professional sports in our era that has that type of impact. And that's, and again, that states a lot when we're living with the greatest of all time in Tom Brady, and he's not able to single-handedly.
And, and lastly, before we get out of here, I want to ask you, when he retires, Tiger, who's next? And where does that put golf at that point? on the back burner behind
we've
hockey?
Answer that. Yeah, it's always difficult when a great in any sport walks away. But again, it's inevitable. You could make the same statement for LeBron in the NBA. Who's that next great that's going to be able to really, truly carry the torch in all aspects beyond?
But at least in that case, you got options. At least in the case of the NBA, you got guys you could possibly choose from. That's what I was asking for golf. Like, after him is then what? Well, who's to choose? Where do you start looking, so to speak?
Well, initially you would, I would say almost a decade ago now when, all of the Tiger stuff really took place when it originated.
Yeah.
That's when, the same question was asked, but again, there was no time to prepare. So that you've seen somewhat of, the first person they put the crown on was Rory, and he did well for a while. Then you had Jordan in there. You had Ricky Fowler being kicked around. Ricky Fowler, but again, none of them were the complete package. Rory had the.
Or is it just that Tiger is such the complete package that he's just way head and shoulders above all the others?
Well, and that
even at this stage in his career.
Great. Yeah, and that's just it. Marketability is everything. And Tiger Woods had that. He had the look. He had the energy from, when he would sink these putts that, the other guys, it was just unmatched. It was unprecedented. And, you get a Rory McIlroy that's phenomenal in terms of his golfing ability, but he's not that marketable. You get a Jordan Spieth that's just inconsistent. You get a Phil Mickelson that'll get himself in trouble, and he's probably, I think he's older than Tiger.
Yeah,
So,
Phil. Now, I do know Phil Mickelson.
Unfortunately,
yeah, he's got, poor Phil, man. He just can't catch a break, man. What in the hey-yo? My gosh. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so, unfortunately, golf is in a very long and drawn-out transitional period.
Precarious.
It's in foreign territory that in the last 20 years, it has not been able to figure out who is going to replace Tiger Woods and be able to truly, carry that type of weight that he wants, he continues to bring with him, which, again, is ratings, sponsorships. The money moves with Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I'd like to see him match Jack or maybe even surpass Jack if that's even possible, if he's still got enough left in the tank. And it looks to be that he's on the way back to that. But again, Father Time is undefeated. You know what I mean? I'd like to see him get back on top.
Exactly.
At least get another couple major wins under his belt. So if he does have to go out, he'll be hopefully go out remembered for the last thing that he accomplished or attained in the sport, because he surely, like I said, I don't follow it, like I do basketball and football and lacrosse and stuff. Well, I don't follow lacrosse as much as I used to, but rugby and things of that nature. But, everybody who doesn't know Tiger Woods, and to hear his name in a good way and in a good light, I think will be good for the sport and good for him as well. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. Go to the search box and type in the Shot Report, or check us out on Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, and of course via email, theshotreport365@gmail.com. And if that don't work, Google it. For my guest Double J and Brother Richard we lost earlier that way, and all those who follow us on social media, we say thank you for your support. I'm Barbershop J, and remember, next time you don't know what's really going on, holla.